about some muscles, and we're going to go over some areas today that are a little more, what's called latent. And latent, think of it like lights. They're brighter. Certain muscles are going to be a little more vulnerable. And so when we have pain, we should have some type of a procedure, I guess you would say, you take your clients to screen them, eliminate, just watch their movement. And so then you have a system that you'll be able to help anyone and everyone. And so when we look at the upper body, the 17 muscles, just go through them real quick, just name one. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Levator scapula.
Relax.
Again.
Rhomboid,
Okay, that's two. Rhomboid major, minor. So we got traps, we got deltoids, we got two rotator cuff muscles. We have rhomboid major, rhomboid minor.
So much that lats.
Lats, this is the torsi.
Isn't this?
Okay, serratus anterior.
is it trapezoid?
You got traps already.
Oh, okay.
The rotate.
Yeah, so there's four there. Do you know the four for sits? Okay, Savannah, you know them? So what's one of the S's? Supraspinatus, which is above. The one below is called infraspinatus. There's one that's underneath the scapula.
Oh,
Subscapularis. Sub is underneath, and then you have the teres minor. Whenever we have a minor, we're going to have a major. Teres major, rhomboid minor. What are the other two majors? Pec major, pec minor. Those are going to work with the humerus and the scapula. We have the upper traps. We have the levator scapula, coracobrachialis. Those are the 17. So being able to recognize the 17 muscles, the 17 actions that are associated with it. So then look at those 17 muscles and which ones are more prone to cause restriction with movement or cause maybe some type of what's called latency. Latency is just going to be an area that's sensitive. Now, of those 17, do you know any of those muscles that would be more sensitive? just name one.
Well, I know that, like, sometimes, like, upper traps, they
Yep.
can cause a lot of issue
Yep.
because, you know, just you're not really in position, and then that messes with your rotator cuff and all of that stuff. So I guess rotator cuffs are huge, like, supraspinatus would be a huge one that would be kind of delicate.
It's more prone to injuries, definitely,
Yeah.
especially with abduction.
Yeah.
Now, out of the four rotator ones, the infraspinatus and the subscapularis are the most sensitive. The subscapularis, it's hard to palpate, but the infraspinatus we can. And so,
Out of four.
subscapularis. Correct. And then you have the upper traps, which are very sensitive. Then you have the lats, and then you're going to have the pec minor. How do we find the pec minor? Remember?
Wait, I know. Something with the thumb.
No.
No, never mind.
It's kind of like that. So you put your arm straight out and you
Oh,
just
yeah.
flex. And it's
I
gonna
do
be-
it with my thumb.
You can do it with your thumb, that's fine. So it's a muscle right there. And this muscle, one of the secondary jobs that it does is it works with breathing. So your client could have shoulder pain because they're more of a chest breather. What's a chest breather? What do you mean by shallow breathing? Yeah, just through your chest. You just watch them. So put your hand here, put a hand here, take a big breath. Are you doing more here or is it more here? It should be 2/3 here, 1/3 here. And I can just look at my client, and if they're real, these are careful words. You don't want to say stressed out. People say they carry it up here, which you can, but the upper traps can be more sensitive. And so helping them calm down. Now, and you can use your hand, you can use one of these balls, which are fine. But if you have a client who has some sensitivity, this would actually be a good one because of these. You can use your elbow. So with the upper traps, there's two bones you gotta be careful of. The anterior one, what's called?
Okay, wait for it.
clavicle.
Oh, okay.
And then on the back you have the scapula. And so the meat in between is going to be the upper trapezius.
Oh, it hurts.
Yeah, it is sensitive.
Wow.
And so if you were to get something that hits the bone, it hurts. If you hit something on the bone in the back, it hurts. So the purpose is to get into the meat. And when you do this, you do not want to provoke the central nervous system in a sympathetic response. What do I mean by that?
You don't want it to be calm. Or wait, you want to calm it down.
Good. So I don't want her to go where I do this, and then she moves, ah, and her breathing goes. So I want to take this area and just give a little bit of pressure. There you go. And then I want to breathe through it. And on a scale of 1 to 10, how badly does that hurt?
6.
Okay. So I want to get it to like a 6, 7.
7.
Good. And then now I'm going to hold and I'm going to breathe. Good. Big deep breath. Let me know when it starts getting down to a 5, 4, and 3.
It's better than.
Good. And just keep on breathing. So what I've just done is I found a sensitive area. Think of it as a light. It's very bright. Now I just calmed it down. Now that we calmed it down, we want to go out there. We want to move properly. So I don't want her to now do a push-up like this. I don't want her to do a row like this. I want to be behind her, and I want to keep her traps down. So you can use little devices. Like this is a good one because you can get into that area. What I see wrong with the devices is we roll. Remember, it's just about creating pressure there. And I'm not trying to hurt her. I'm just giving a nice little sensitive spot. Again, scale 1 to 10. Okay. The breathing is the most important part. You will have some people, military, MMA, people who are used to contact. They have really high levels of high threshold for pain. You're not going to get them to a 7 or 8. You don't want to get them to a 7 or 8 just because it's going to be too much. You're going to have to put a lot of pressure. For most people, you're just going to give a little bit of pressure, and the purpose is just to calm it down. And then if you look at the color afterwards, it's going to be red. And what does red signify? Blood flow. So now what we're doing is we're just getting some blood flow in there. We're calming down the nervous system, and then we want to go to the other side. And a lot of times you can see this, like if you were, so we look at, like if we're looking at the 5 most common areas that are going to be very sensitive. The upper traps are very sensitive. The infraspinatus. Now the infraspinatus, if we look at, here's a good picture because you can see the skin, or as guys that take a shirt off, girls that you see have sportswear like this. So you can see what's called the inferior and medial border of the scapula. And if you can't find it, you just have her put the hand behind the back. Okay, one out of the way. So internally rotate like this. There you go. So then you have this little point. It's called your inferior border. And so this area right there is where we would then put. So see right there, you can do it on the side too. Put this other one back. Put this all under there. So here you have the infraspinatus. Here you're going to have the upper trap underneath the upper trap. That's going to come here. You have the supraspinatus. Teres minor is going to be over here underneath. So I'm actually going to do this, but you can go here, and where my fingers are grabbing right there, that's the subscapularis. And sometimes that can be pretty sensitive, like you can get in there and people will do, there's people, therapists, I'm not a therapist, but they will go in through the armpit and they'll actually release from it. It's like, that's advanced stuff. We're not doing that. I'm just looking at this part right here. And essentially I would do the same thing that I did with either my elbow, my thumb. Thumb's usually the best. If you get like a lacrosse ball, it's pretty aggressive. So at least if I were to do a thumb, I like to be in a mirror so I can see her facial expression. If I go to the point where she goes like that, it's a little too much. Sometimes I'll go and kind of stabilize, but you don't want it to make your client uncomfortable. So we just go and get something like this, and we just kind of apply some pressure. How's that feel? Is it close to 7 or 8 or no?
No, it's like
So you can just kind of palpate around, move around, where some areas might be a little more. Is that a little better? So then you would hold that area, same thing. A lot of times, posterior areas such as the infra and upper traps can have a huge effect on the interior stiffness, tightness, pain, whatever. So we go in there, same principle. You just hold it for a good 30 seconds. You want it to calm down, work on the breathing, and then you take it off. And then when you take it off, it's just kind of like, it feels a lot better. You can do it with your hands. You can come in here and you can just kind of feel the muscle. Is that one a little more sensitive there? So you can feel the muscle. And notice how so she's moving. So this is a lot better of an area. It's a lot more sensitive. Work on that breathing. Yeah, good. So it's like but I don't want it to bring to the point where it's so uncomfortable. You can even get a little bit of numbness down the arm. It's not uncommon. This is a huge nerve area. And so again, I'm just doing this, and then afterwards, it's just kind of like, I always say girls, usually be careful with your nails, because you do that on someone that can really jack up their skin. And I don't want to make them bruise. The older that we get, there may be a little more vulnerability to having bruising, so make sure the purpose of this isn't to make people feel bad. Now, when it comes to the chest, dudes I'll do, girls obviously I won't. I like getting a barbell, so pretend like this is a barbell. And so you go to the pec minor, and now what I'm going to do is you hold there, and now we're going to go through the actions. So I like to go through extension, flexion, flexion. And this is a good little chest warm-up. Back and forth, and I'll do AB, AD. Maybe you want to do some external, internal. Notice how my head of the humerus isn't gliding forward, isn't going back. I'm stabilizing, I'm breathing. If you want to make it more challenging, I would come behind, so you can come behind me.
Me?
Yeah, sorry.
What do I need to
Push
do?
on my shoulder. There you go. So now she's giving me more pressure. And that's significantly more than I'm going to do. And I can really feel that. That's good. So now I'm working my breathing. And then she can instruct me to work on that. So if you look at, I actually am a huge fan of full mode. I just like giving it shit on Instagram because it offends everyone.
Yeah.
I think that if you do it, it's significantly better. But you're going to find at Equinox, you're going to find at Lifetime, you go into a little corner, you start your workout out, you have your phone, you have your mat, whatever, and the client starts by doing this. And this is what everyone does. They start out their workout by doing it themselves. I don't see the value in that because your clients are paying you. When you think about it, if someone's paying you $120 an hour, that's $2 a minute. And they FOMO for 3 minutes by themselves, that's $6. That's a latte. You guys have expensive ass coffee in Austin. I was in a spot the other day and it was like $5.75. What the hell? That's expensive. For 3 minutes on one side, you go to the other side. And then we're supposed to do some mobility drills. The next thing you know, 12 minutes has gone by. That's $25. And so if there's an issue, pain, restriction, then it's okay to get into this stuff. If you're maybe uncomfortable touching your clients, have them do it before. So you give them a little foam rolling routine that they can do. The areas that I would suggest doing, I would screen if there's shoulder pain. I always like, if my clients have shoulder pain, as we did last week, first thing, put your hands up. Good to go. Okay, then I'm thinking, all right, let me get into some tight spots. And I'm going to get back there. I'll get up here. Maybe if it's bicep stuff, I'll get into the biceps. The biceps are usually very, very sensitive as well. Just kind of holding. How does that breathe? And just like a couple sensitive spots you get into, I don't know, and we don't know either as scientists, not a scientist, but we don't know if it's just the impact on the skin to the nervous system that's helping, or if it's that specific area. That's still up for taboo. I may be able to pull on her gastroc, and it could potentially help with her shoulder. We don't know. So those are the areas I go to. And then I like looking at the thoracic spot. So you can do like here if you want to, and work with mobility. Now if you're really restricted, some people use this. I like to use my hip on the wall. And I like to see if I can get it all the way around. This is a good wall because it's nice and open. You should be able to keep with your ASIS pointed forward. I don't want this. I want this here. And now I want you to be able to trace the whole entire way. That's good range of motion. Then can you come and get this way? And for most of your clients, they're probably going to get right around here and they can't breathe. And so that shows me that if their thoracic region is restricted, this area should not be restricted. I call it the roly-poly effect. If you're a weirdo like me, you play with little bugs and backwards, you know what a roly-poly is?
Yeah.
What happens when you touch them?
They roll
There you
on you.
go.
Yeah.
So this area is like a roly poly. It's tight because it's protecting something. It's a good thing. Because if I had that range of motion, I can't own that range of motion, so I'm more vulnerable. So the brain is doing a good thing. So getting range of motion is good as long as we train in that now. And so if you find some restriction, I can't rotate. Well, let's do a mobility. So we want to get into the lats. So and if you were to put your feet there in a bridge position, butt on the ground, facing that way. Butt on the ground.
Butt on the ground.
Facing that way, other way. There you go. Nice. And so then you're going to come back and lie on that.
Do you want to get that up so you can see my left?
So not the lumbar region. That's not the end of the world if you do your lumbar. I just don't encourage it because we don't have that much range of motion. So I'm going to go right across the mid back, and then we're just going to hinge up. Give yourself a big hug, and then we just rock back and forth. And so that's getting into that tissue, the lats, called the thoracic lumbar fascia. So if you wanted to be, I always ask, I'm not going to do it, but if you wanted to get a little more aggressive, you can kind of shake your clients back and forth. That's going to get more flow in there. And so that's a good little exercise that you can do just to get blood flow in that area. And then you can do a test and a retest. So if I were to look at her and she was here first, get into this, do it for a good minute or so, and you come in and you retest, and now she has more, that's good. That means we're increasing that range of motion. So then let's do some other drills. What's another thoracic mobility drill that you are familiar with? Anyone?
The G-spine.
Good. Can you show us?
Sure.
You're going in that quadruped position, so tabletop.
I don't have that much rotation because my spine
Yeah,
is
exactly.
mine.
Yeah, obviously. Good. She has a
Keep it
lot of
in
her
her
back. Yeah, so that's great. So obviously you wouldn't try to push past that. That's just what she has. So there's going to be certain exercises that are just not going to be user friendly. So just regress back. Don't have to do a row. You don't have to do certain stuff if it irritates you. So just always keep that in mind. Bodies are different. You do not have to do every single pattern if there's some restriction in unique cases like that. So then another, if we were to go through here, working, that's a good one. You can do stuff where you're here, you drive your hand down, you thread the needle. You can do like a variation of that one. It's more, so a flow is where it's continuous. So get some soft tissue manipulation, and then you can get into that movement. So once you identify a restriction, that is important for individuals who have the restriction. All right? If you don't have the restriction, we don't need to do it. If someone doesn't have, like if someone is here, I don't need to get them perfect. Do you have pain? Can you breathe all right? You're fine. Let's go work out. That's the difference between a shitty trainer and a great trainer. Is a shitty trainer is going to show them all this mobility stuff. Let me show you this and that and this. And who cares? What did you come here for? To get stronger? Let's go get stronger. To grow your chest, to grow your glutes? Let's go do that. If you want to lose more fat, they're thinking they need to be moving around more. So you got to play the game. That's what we're talking about when we say play the game. So for the lower body, areas that are a little more sensitive, your adductor magnus right in here. And this is a fun one to do. You can all do this if you like. You can get into this 90-90 position, and then you just get into your adductor. And this can help with knee pain. So your adductor, this is going to be, if you've gone through hip anatomy, those are your semimembranosus, semitendinosus. The lateral one's your bicep femoris. So what we do is we just get into that piece of meat right there. And if you're not finding it, you just have to move around. So you go,
Left, right.
you don't speak like that, Samantha. You say medial or lateral. So medially coming down, and then go towards up. So proximal, distal. Proximal, distal, proximal. So here is that muscle, right in there, real sensitive. And then you find it, you hold it, and you breathe. This can help with knee pain. This actually can help with releasing what's called osmotic pressure of the knee. So if people have knee pain, this is a nice little one to go to. Get that little ball thing, go in there, hold for a good, what I like to do is I'll go until I get a 7 or an 8, breathe, get down to a 5, then I'll go a little harder, get back to a 7, breathe, back to a 5, then we relax. So the adductors are really sensitive. The vastus group, which a lot of people will misinterpret as the IT band or the, it's the IT band, it's not that, it's the vastus lateralis. And then your your gastroc on the lateral portion. So the lateral part, which can help with ankle, it can help with the knee. So going here and applying that pressure like that. If you ever have anyone that has ankle pain, knee pain, any restrictions because of running, you can even let's get into the peroneals, which is I think probably the worst one. It's the lateral ones. Go here, hold, and then just hold there. So hypothetically, the reason I think this is good ammo to have is because you could have a client who comes in. I will never turn a client away. The client comes in and we've been training 5 days in a row. And they say my body's just beat up. I say, great, what's hurt? Take me through a roll call, here, whatever. We're just gonna do some mobility stuff today. The whole entire workout. We're gonna go walk for 5-10 minutes. Then we're gonna do 15-20 minutes of rolling aspects, and then we do 20 minutes of mobility, and then we'll end off on 20 minutes of static stretching. That is a tool that I have. Remember, we are the practitioners. Our tool belt is what makes us unique. But the tool belt doesn't make us, which is really important. So many trainers want to have flashy corrective shirts and stuff. No, I'm not. I can do whatever. Our goal for the most part is to move better, feel better, look better. And so we can implement that. So know those certain areas. How you feeling? Holding up good? All right, here's the workout we're supposed to do. According to the program, today we're supposed to hit a PR at 5. Body feel right? You can say, you know what? Something weird, something's going on over here. Maybe I shouldn't be doing overhead. That's fine. We're going to take that out. Maybe we'll hit 10 reps there. Communicate with that with me. Let's get into some of that tissue. Let's get it up here, and you'll start by, so just have your clients, so you'll be working with her. So you sit down, she'll work with you first, and then you come around, and then you just start. And so one thing is, we're not massage therapists. We're technically not supposed to be, really manipulating our clients. A little light massage should be okay. I would have my client, open up their neck a little bit by going to the side, and then I'll just get into that upper chop. So you can see that meat. It's all part of. That's what it is. It's all meat.
Upper trap.
Yep.
So we are only supposed to massage the.
Now we're not massaging it.
Okay.
It's
Putting pressure on the
it's a pressure
sensitive part,
technique.
or what if it's out? It doesn't hurt there, but what if?
No, so you find. I think of it as it's like a treasure hunt. You gotta find where. See, so that sound.
This left trap is insane.
I tell my clients. I call it the custard spot.
Yeah.
When you hit it, you'll know, and they're like, fuck, every time. So then.
I was arm wrestler champion in my high school. But it's left hand. I'm using my left hand, so it should be better. Do you want me to push it harder?
Sure.
Would you tell me on a scale of 1 to 10 how?
Yeah. Now, in the future, don't say, do you want me to push it harder?
Okay.
It's a better question. On a scale of 1 to 10, tell me that. That's just the small difference between you taking control. And now the client's like, you should know this. So it's always like, I'm controlling you in the workout. I'm not going to ask my client, do you want to do push-ups next? No, I'm saying today we're doing push-ups, we're doing squats, we're doing landmine press. Any questions about that? I don't want to do landmine press. Why? It's last time I just didn't like it. It's tough shit. That's good for you. This is the stuff that's going to help you move and feel better. Now, if it's something that irritates you, last time I did back squats, something just kind of irritates. Okay, that's fine. We'll do a safety bar squat. So you'll have a regression if it's something that causes irritation.
So can you ask if she prefers me using?
No, I wouldn't.
No.
Just do it.
Just do it. Okay. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how?
You guys can start too. We'll try to work this in.
6.
So when you go, use more of your point. Not your nail though. So like right here, it's gonna be like this. You see how?
Yeah. Still nothing?
What? Jeez. That's all right. It's just you're getting the practice of doing it. So it's going to be more here. Here.
6. No.
Okay, so we're getting there. Notice I'm not getting the nail like you are. I'm just leveraging my body over her. If you wanted to, if you really wasn't doing, that's when you could get like your elbow.
It is, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm using this not to allow her to go forward.
Okay. What's that at?
So that's going to be, which is fine where you're at, that's going to be the rhomboids. So the infraspinatus is going to be more here. And you can just feel just by doing, you'll feel the muscle and you just kind of And that's really sensitive, huh?
Yeah.
You hear what she said? She just cuts because it is. So this area right where that is. So put your hand behind your back. So there's the angle. There's the medial border. Right there. It dips in.
Oh.
So that's where the infraspinatus is.
Okay.
So try that right there. You can put your hand back.
Yeah, that's oh shit.
Oh.
See?
Seven.
That's the infraspinatus. That's the cuspid spot right there.
Spot on that side.
So you're going to be on your side, facing the camera. I call this the cuddle position. This is not a technical term, but you're going to go here, here.
Wow.
So you see how this is the technique that just works for me. I kind of just aggressively move people because the way that I talk, it doesn't work, and that's a coaching flaw for me. So I'll just kind of manage. So be on your side. So you're going to put your left arm straight. There you go. And I want your right arm to go past your left arm. So we're reaching, so we're getting protraction. So this is just going to be a nice little T-spine test. And so then what we're going to do is by keeping this on here, the big flaw I see with this one is people rotate through the lumbar spine. So what I'll do is I'll put my foot where the lumbar spine is so she can't rotate through it. And then you're going to open up. Okay. So now we get, good. So about fast right there, and then come back, reach over. So nice and controlled, reach. We don't want to do these fast. The whole point is to create a range of motion that we didn't have before. So a little technique that you can do now, hold on, so stop, you can come, don't go to end range. You go maybe, depending on maybe 30, 40 degrees outside of it, and then you're going to come up and you're going to drive against me, so drive. Try to push me over, hard, 3, hard, 2.
Very strong, come on.
Relax, now go back into it. No, get a little more than then drive it in it. 2, 3, relax, go back in it.
Dang.
So what that is, it's called PNF, proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation. So you're going, get the range, slightly come out, drive, contract, contract, contract. We call it crack, contract, relax, agonist contraction. So you come back, get it, come out, hold. Back out. So another example like I'll do by yourself, you can do this. So hip tightness, you go here. So now I'm going to drive my heel into the ground. The hammies and glutes, drive. I relax, and then I come back up in flexion. Come back down, drive. Relax, and then I come back in. So what I'm doing is the opposite if it's causing restriction by doing this test, retest, agonist, antagonist. It's like your nervous system's playing around with it. It's just turning on, turning off, turning on, turning off. And then you're going to get a new range of motion by doing it. So this is a great drill your clients can do. Has anyone not done this drill before? I don't have thoracic restrictions. I can come right to workout and start training. I don't need to do a crazy warm-up. If your clients who do have those restrictions, why not take them through it? It's only going to be beneficial for them. You do some movement stuff. If you want to do, we don't need to spend hours. You can do a little plank afterwards. Do some rolling on the plank for the. Have you done a plank on there before? On the foam roller?
Actually, I don't think so.
Yeah, so just do a plank as you would. Now what you're going to do is we're going to work on, so you're going to go on your elbows on it. So now we're just going to move it out in front of you. So try to get, instead of your elbows, get more your forearms. There you go. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to kind of roll it out. Roll it out, there you go, and then back in. Good. Right, so that's a more advanced exercise. He can handle it. And then you're going to get a lot of scapular work in there. He's nice and strong. Great, simple warm-up. I could do that. So Dre comes in. First thing we do literally is that warm-up with the thoracic. Flip on over right into here. Maybe you go into a side plank on here. Maybe I lift you go. There you go. And hold up this leg up. Hold there. Add some value for the trainer. We're going to hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Switch on over. Other side. Hold. Head neutral, shoulder back. Always making sure we're looking at the form. Even if he has good form, I'm going to repeat it because that's the value in working with me. And leg abducted. Hold in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Put this down. Hold that position. Keep that there. I've never done this before. I always encourage you to just think differently and play with your clients always in a safe way. I'm not worried about hurting them. Put your arm straight up. So this would be a good drill. Stabilize. Don't push, don't push. This would be a good, simple, little proprioceptive drill that now I'm getting the rotator cuff ready for. I've never done this for someone before. It's the first time I've ever done it. Because of what I saw, I wasn't concerned about hurting them. But now I'm getting this shoulder ready for the workout. Resist, resist, resist. So we got upper chops. We got infraspinatus. We got the pec minor a little bit. You can do that on the wall. You can also do it on here. It's a little harder. You need like a ball to get in there. We did a thoracic test. Now, technically, the thoracic is part of the shoulder joint. Because that joint, what is the joint?
Thoracic? Thoracic?
Well, there's 4 in the shoulder,
Yep.
but it's
Keep
it's
yourself
bone. It's bone.
No, that's the type of joint. That's the type of joint. It's ball and socket. That's the type of joint. I'm asking, what joint is this?
The
Thoracic,
sternum, the ST joint.
scapulothoracic.
Scapular, yeah.
This is the sternoclavicular, glenohumeral, acromioclavicular. You can feel the acromioclavicular by going down on the clavicle,
Yeah, just the
coming
slides
back
and stuff, yeah.
on the sternum. They meet together. So that's the joint that we just addressed right there. So maybe that's why you're trying to shoulder pain, because they're restricted in the thoracic region. I don't know. I don't scare my clients. I'm not a therapist, but we owe it to them to kind of screen if there's restriction.
So, how much time do you spend with mobility and stuff compared to how much do you just stay away from that kind of stuff?
Yeah,
Because it depends on their goals and stuff like that.
Yeah, it does, and also how severe the injury is, how long
Yeah.
they've had it for. So as we get a little older, like the 57-year-old, the brain has probably guarded that for a long time.
Yeah.
So I would do a good amount of quote-unquote correctives before the workout.
Okay.
So do some band work. Just start out with the soft tissue stuff. You can do that infraspinatus one. That'd be great. Do the infraspinatus. You can do the upper trap. Do both sides. In that seated position, do a band pull apart. And do that on the first workout. You could do some scapular drills. So you can get on to the wall and work with, if this is non-low bearing, so it's like protraction, retraction, protraction, retraction. You can do a little protraction drill here, retraction, protraction, not driving too much traps, pro. Or you can put a band around and you can work on just that. And you can progress and do that into the ground. Jimmy does these, he calls them pred, which I like. Pred is going to be protract, retract, elevation, depression, elevation, depression, protract, retract. So you're just teaching your client to go through that.
That's what I did with her in the warm up because I got it from Jimmy. That's funny. Okay. Before I even knew that, well, after I knew, but
So
I
if
already
you-
had it planned.
So if
it
we
wasn't even
don't,
on me.
so if you have a routine, not a routine, but if you assume, as Jimmy talks about in his videos, your clients are more in an elevated state, so we don't go through the other ones. So maybe you just have that guard up because those other ones haven't been used very much. And maybe your client has knee pain because they treat the hip joint as a hinge joint. So what does that mean?
Wait, can you repeat the question?
So maybe, I don't know if this is right or wrong, I'm just saying, but maybe your client has knee pain because they treat their hip like it's a hinge joint.
Like limited range of motion?
So what is a hinge joint?
Just flexion and
Good.
basically just this.
So flexion extension, running, biking,
Yeah.
squatting, hip thrusting. Every exercise we ever do is all sagittal.
Yeah.
So if we don't get into the frontal plane, if we don't do abduction, that's a simple test right there. You have good glute strength. It's scary. I had a client who worked at Netflix, Brian, in his mid-30s. He would do this. And he'd be, lift your leg up. He'd go. Couldn't even budge it. Like his leg was 1 trillion pounds. And he has really bad knee pain. I'm not saying the reason you have, but you have no lateral strength whatsoever. So maybe the brain is smart and says, fuck this, we're locking you down. Because you're not stable here. If you can't get over here, I don't want you to get out there. It's not safe. So keep it really tight and restrictive, and then you start getting little leaks of energy. That's what I call it. So your knee could maybe, so it's like you regress back, you do single leg bridges, and you work on doing stuff that's more unilateral, side step ups. And as he gets stronger, I mean, you can put bands on him. You can come over here. I'm not doing this with a dude who wants to get stronger, but if your client has knee pain, different. So when there's pain, you can do all the kind of the frou-frou stuff. I'm not going to do that on someone just for fun. Like, oh, let me show, oh, Dre, you got crazy, you don't have abduction in your hip. Let's just train that. Oh, you want to get jacked. So you got to make it relative to the person. What else going through your guys' mind? I think a good challenge for the week would be to try, if you haven't, you're training regularly, maybe I'm starting out there, maybe you go and you shadow her sometime in training. You get out there and you see what the class, I won't let that, I'm just throwing it out there, but how can you watch trainers train? Because that's essentially gaining experience too. If you can train, that's the best experience you can gain, but if you don't have someone out, you got to try. So between now and next week, things you can work on, watch some more of the shoulder videos, watch, I'll do a couple videos tomorrow that I'll put on there for horizontal pull, push. We already have horizontal push, we'll do a vertical pull, vertical push, and then a horizontal pull. So really looking at the anatomy, so that, I think this will make more sense when you watch those videos. So you can see the agonist, antagonist, and the muscles that are going to be associated with that. Now we have some kind of corrective thing. This is essentially like a corrective seminar you start. So people would spend and get a certification for this. You just look at what's restricted, go to the opposite muscle, get into the tissue, strengthen that tissue, move, you're good. That's literally what they teach like in a NASM, correct? You foam roll, you activate, you do, they call it integrative exercise, which would be something that is essentially a full body movement. You don't need to go through that. You got all that you need for any type of corrective stuff. Right? And you can start when you're low on time. I mean, low on a client, but you have a lot of time. You can start making these videos right now. So like even next week, you could come in, and talk to me. Hey Nate, can we have 10 minutes a day where we try to do some filming? And it's like you set up something and you go over. You can talk. You don't have to talk. You don't need to get all sciencey for your clients. Obviously, I do it because educating. Because you can just show your client, here's a row like we did last week, here's a bent over row. You're doing the exercises. You have 5 of them. It's a row continuum. So you send it to your client, and you say, I want you to do the 3rd variation here. And then the next time you send them the same way, you say, I want you to do the 1st variation. So first one is on the bench, you have neutral, and you have one that's pronated, you have bilateral, you have split stance here, you have more like so start with the easy ones, go to the harder ones, do your renegade row, do the lever one. You have like 8 variations in there. So then you start creating your library. But it's just going towards your streams of revenue, because then you just send that stuff out and it makes it really easy. That's stuff that you can do right now because you have more than time. Because what happens, it gets crazy because you go out there, you start training, pick up one client, and then you get a couple more, and then all of a sudden they want the videos. And then you're like, and then you get all overwhelmed. You're like, oh shit, I should have done this a long time ago. So right now, get your ducks in a row and start building out that content. So when people start reaching out during the holidays, Christmas time, you have you have 50 exercises. If you were to take the class, each class 10 minutes, film something, just a pattern, push, pull, hinge, uni-lateral, do body weight, do like what most people have during COVID. That's all you need, 25. I mean, most of your clients, if they're going to be girls, you don't need to go much past 25 for dumbbells. If you have barbell access, great, but what do you really need?
So you guys in pain.
The nut buckle, there you go.
Okay.